Hello again. It's been a bit of a busy time this festive season. It's all been very, very hectic. I've not been able to do much on the potting front, which is a pity because we've got a show coming up fairly soon, a local show, and it's all hell let loose now to try to get things done in time. It's only in about 3 or 4 weeks' time, so I've been making quite a few pots. This is actually a commission. Lovely pot, I think. You can see. Okay, well, and I'm going to have to flip it in a moment to put the feet on. But if you could just have a look behind me, you'll see a new range, some variations on my semi-cascade pots. They will all have to have feet put on them. These were all bashed out yesterday, as was this other big one. And I also made a number of new little accent pots as well, which are drying on a radiator at the moment. So it has been all go. But first of all, I'd just like to say a little something. My cameraman is ready for me. About my hat. This is my damned hat. Got it? Well, it wasn't always my damned hat. Way back in 1984, I think, 84, 85, when I was invited over by the late John Narker to the Californian State Convention, which was held in Palm Springs. He was wearing this hat, and we were laughing and joking about it. And he says, "Yeah, Dad, it's yours." So this is now my damned hat, formerly belonging to the late John Narker, the wonderful John Narker. Okay, so I'm really privileged to have this. But because we've got top lighting and my eyes are going to be in shadow, I'm going to get back to the usual uniform, guys. Bear with. Here we go. Ta-da! There we are. Everybody happy now? So, back to this chappy. The first thing I'm going to have to do is flip it over, and so that the base doesn't collapse in the process, I've got some various things here, and I'll just check the height. Yeah, that's okay. You have to do that so that when the thing is turned over, it stabilizes the base. So this now goes on here, thus. Yes, it's always sort of the second day or the third day before I can put, after making the pots, before I can put the feet on. And the reason for this is because the pot's too soft to flip over. So I leave it for 24, 36 hours. Now what I'm going to do is just take this little burr off the side here, and then we have to tidy up this edge. So I'll just clean that a bit. I've left a little bit of texture on the side of the pot here. I'm just using a fairly stiff plastic. It's an American kidney. And now we'll use one of my famous little homemade tools, and I'll smarten up the side. But what I do usually, get a little bit of water on a sponge and just soften these bits up. Right, that'll do. Now I've got this chappy. You see how nicely that smooths it out? That away. Detail is so important with every aspect of potting. It takes time, patience, but believe me, it's worth it. Right, so I've done the side. Now I'm going to do the top. Press down. You can see there's a little burr along here. Just this is this. We'll just take this along and we'll just wipe it over there, and that will tidy that up. Just takes that little edge there, you see. Does that nicely. I'll be roughing this up again shortly. Now, whether I continue with this at this moment and put the feet on, or whether we put this to one side and I talk about some of these other pots and put feet on one of these first and then later come back to this. So I think what I want to do now is to move on to some of these pots that we made yesterday. Okay, this was the first one. So these ones made before, the sort of feet, two different types of feet. This is a sort of regular foot that I so often use. And this one, right, this pot has got these little felt cushions on just to stop it scratching display tables when the pots are displayed. And these are my tie down feet. You've got holes where you can push through to tie the pot down, because very often with semi-cascade bonsai, the wind can blow them over, the weight of the tree can sometimes blow them over, or even snow settling on, not that we get that much. So you can tie the pot down to the bench. That's quite a useful and simple solution. This, on the other hand, is just normal. So I'll put that back there. Get this out of the way. Put that over there. Right. So what I need to do now is to quickly talk about this chappie. I have to be quite honest, credit where credit's due. I was watching a program the other evening on YouTube, and I saw this Japanese potter making some pots, and I was immensely impressed by some of his techniques in generating certain types of textures, which I must confess I have replicated. And this is done by getting a knife, cutting a slice down and then boom, bending it over so you get the smooth and the rough. Okay, and excuse me, you've heard me say this Lord knows how many times, but I'm a stickler for respecting the dignity of clay. Clay is a part of our earth. It's earth in one of its forms. It's our planet. So I respect it. And I like to allow in most of my pots, the clay to speak for itself, to show it has life, it has texture. And while some of my pots are smoothed off, as you could see in that last one, the big one that we did, which was a commission, so many of my more freeform pots show this life that exists. Well, what I've done is I've taken this Japanese guy's idea, and I've added some of my own, and I will do some further work on this pot with some slips, color slips maybe. So this one will also need to have. So I put a sponge there. That protects that surface. So this one will also need to have feet put on it. I think I will maybe quickly just smooth off this bit here. I don't want to get these things too smooth because the whole idea, the whole essence of these pots, these ones incidentally have been made very hurriedly for the forthcoming show. And let's hope I get them finished. Right, so I'll have, now the way I mark the position for my feet, I'll just try and place this somewhere like so. That'll do. And we'll just go. So I know where to put the feet now. That's simple enough. So if you can bear with, I'm just going to go to the extruder and just roll out a little bit of clay. So we get this here. So cut a little lump off there and halve that. Then what I do here, okay, I'll do the same. Now I never use slurry. You don't need to. Just put a little damper of water there. That's enough. And then you see, because you've got these two little rough surfaces, they will make their own slurry when I rub them in like this. Well, that gives you its own nice bonding adhesive, as it were. So there we go. There we go. Get those in. Right. Now, just a little bit of Ujima flick. Boom, 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 boom. And I'll do the same this side. I'm often asked what these little, is everything done? Yeah. Right. I'm often asked what these different chops stand for. This one here supposedly is my name in Chinese, and it's Pak Danyan. Okay, Pak Danyan. Pak Danyan supposedly meaning white, honest, modest. Well, I don't know about the the white and the modest bit, but the honest, yes, I'll go along with that. This one here, of course, is the date. This pot was one of the very first made for 2024. Here we've got Dansai, which was a nickname one of our club members gave me about 40 years ago, and it's stuck. And this one here is DDP, and it stands for Dapper Dan Pots. Dapper Dan Pots. It stands for the D part of the Dapper Dan Pots is the Dapper is the nickname of my wonderful assistant potter, whom, as I said earlier, roughs out the pots. So I thought he's done so much for me, he needs to have some credit and recognition. So I decided to have a little chop mark made for him as well, as you know, just as a gesture of thanks and recognition of his abilities. Okay, but all the tarting up is my province. Now the next thing, of course, are the tie-in holes. So in there, these tie-in holes, of course, are to put your wires through to tie the tray down. you'll notice that these feet are quite high. Okay, I will press them down, and when I turn the pot back over, I'll press them down a bit. But the reason why I've got them slightly high is because it's a tallish pot. Okay, so the feet are chosen, their height is chosen in respect of the depth of the pot. If I had a shallower pot, I'd have shallower feet. But also notice that the feet tend to be slightly in from the front edge. Again, I have my reasons for this. Let me just take this off here. Put that down there. Just push that slightly down. The reason for that is it creates a shadow. It gives the pot lift. It raises it and doesn't give it that plonk down heavy look. It just lightens it, and I personally prefer that than the pots that are too okay. Yeah, so if you have a close look at some of these textures, okay, well, we'll move on now. I'm not going to put the feet on these other pots yet because it's all more or less the same. And all of these pots are likely to be eventually glazed with my signature gunmetal red, which is very popular. That's this thing over here. All right, that sort of color. Here I've been quite brutalistic with the mud painting, but you know, I call it mud painting because it is considered painting. You know, each mark is put in respect of each other. It's not just a random slapping on of stuff. And on this side, we just did a silly little variation. I put some little flowers there, okay? And I've got some funny little things there which will burn in, some lava that will burn in. So I've not done that before, so I haven't a clue what's going to happen. But anyway, that's that. What I will do is I'll turn this one over gently, and I'll at least tidy that edge up. I won't bother to put feet on this one yet. I'll do that later. You don't need to see the same thing repeated. To this one. Here you can see again another nicely made. All of these pots are all coiled, of course. Another nicely made coiled pot, which I have, much to the horror of my assistant, quite seriously abused, pushed in, pushed out, distorted, played around with the rim. And what's important is getting all of the lines to interrelate. So again, this one will be treated as the others with the gunmetal red. Just going to turn that over, clean off that burr, and I'll put the feet on. There we go. Oh, incidentally, notice I haven't done an ordinary hole in here because it's a primitive pot, distorted pot. It gets a distorted hole, you know, something that's in greater sympathy here. And yet again, another application. What I've done here is I've used a tool like this on a lump of clay and just taken slices off and stuck them on, okay, to give another fairly chunky texture. So not a lot more I can say about that other than the fact it's a bigger pot. Just clean this off here. Clean that off there. And I think I will just do a quick little thing here. I'll adjust the angle slightly. This is a nice little quickie, which I'm going to see if I can quickly demonstrate how I did this. I've got a few pieces of slab, most unusual for me to make pots anyway, other than um, coiling. So I'm going to initiate this. I'll put the things together. I'll do one of my welds inside. We'll see how time goes. I don't want to sort of bore you with a lot of repetition. So I'm just going to put this to the side now. But you can see, just looking at this, again, this one needs feet. Um, you can see what I mean when I'm talking about the inner welds. All very crude, but dead easy to make, you know. And it's fun. They're fun. Um, 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 um. All right, this will do. So, first things first, just get a couple of these together. Okay, and then I don't know whether you can see this. Just push those together, and I quite crudely pinch it all. Yeah, pinch it all. Right. And same again here. Yep. See. Oh, this way around. Yeah, same again here. And just pinch it all. Okay. And another one. Don't get too concerned if the heights vary. All contributes to the the freshness and randomness and organic feel. This one can go there. It's not bad. Okay. Quite good. Not bad. Pull these out a bit. Pull those out a bit. Okay. Okay. Now the next thing is to do the base. Well, I think I will just scritch this. Scritching we will go. Scritching we will go. Scritching we will go. Ho ho. Mark this up. Yeah. Just gently place that down there. I'll just mark around. I think for me, oh, I hate using that word, me. You know, I think spontaneity in the design, trying to maintain the freshness. Speed is important. So I'll just take that off now that I've done that. And I will do a little bit of scritching here as well. Scritching we will go, scritching we will go. One of the problems at this time of the year is the time it takes for these pots to dry. So once they're made, I've got the feet, I'm going to take them into the house and put them either in the airing cupboard or something like that to try to speed up the the drying because because they're needed for the show. I haven't got much time. Let's push that out again at the bottom. Put that down there. Okay, right. So let's just now what I'm going to do is cut. I see my good friend Stone Monkey, Andy Pearson, making his slab pots, and he does them so well. He's blooming past master at that game. I very, very rarely use slabs, but there's always a time and place. So now where do we go? You know, you learn something every day. I have to lift that. I have to lift this little detail. Right, this sort of thing has to be bent up. Well, it's difficult to do it from here. So yesterday I stumbled across the bright idea of pushing it to the edge. How about that for a bit of genius? How about that for a bit of genius? So warm, 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 warm. Such immense. Da-da-dee-dee. Mm-hmm. 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 Dee-dee-dee-dee-dee. Well, I imagine that's pretty well joined. You've got to, the trouble is with these slab pots, so often you get pressure from um, the root systems as the plants grow. It can often push the sides out. I'm just joining the inner bit here, which is a bit tricky. And then I'm going to put a weld in each of those to reinforce it. Don't want sinking in. Now, let's just see what we got here. What I'm going to do here now, a bit of this, and a bit of moisture here. I'll just dampen a bit of this. So I'll make a few of these little sausages. They don't have to be thick or anything, just little things. Right. Somebody's going to say, why did you dampen this? And the reason I did dampen that is so that with such thin coils, you do it on a dry surface, it takes the moisture out of the coil too quickly, and it loses some of its adhesion. So anyway, having done that, we will now, I don't know, it's just going to be difficult for you to see this. Oh, I missed one out. I missed one out. There we go. This has to now go in here, and then I will just go like that and press it. Okay, now I'll put one on this side, drop it to the bottom, stick that up there, just try to get that in place, and then use this little tool to initially press it into the corner. Boom, boom. Get my little fat fingers in there again. Notice how my left hand here is supporting the outer corner. Right. Now the reason I'm doing this, obviously, is if you compare, you see this kind of thing here. It's so easy. I'm putting in these things, it just merges it all. I'll get this thing again, just push it in, and it just reinforces that corner, which is vital, and also gets rid of any cracks that roots might be able to creep into and force the pot apart. Oh, that's nice. On that side as well then. So they're all done. Now just one more to go around the base. Around the bottom. This is usually the most difficult one. Well, you see, I've just put my little coil around there, and I'm just going to press it in now into the corner of the base all the way. Okay, we don't want the thing crimping in. Slab pots are notorious for when they dry to shrink inwards. So if you can anticipate that when you're building the things, you can help yourself getting a distorted looking pot. Distorted, my God, my pots couldn't be more distorted if I tried. Right, so what I want to do now, these little tools are available in any of the pottery supply stores. Okay, you'll find them very useful, and you can get some interesting textures from them. So what I'd like to do now is for you to come a little bit closer while I try and do some spontaneous. This is going to be fast. Okay. Notice how I'm supporting at the back. Okay. So I'm not entirely happy with this little upper edge. It's a little bit weak, a little bit thin, in relationship to the rest. So what we'll do here, we'll get my trusted little things that I make for texturing. We will try and introduce a little bit of texture. So I have a sponge here which is impregnated with oil, just WD-40 or something like that, and that will stop the clay sticking. Yeah, you see, by pushing it into this, I've got the WD-40 in there, and it stops the clay sticking to this when I'm. So what I'm going to do now is just you see how much more convincing that is. Just push this out a little bit more. Now for just one more thing, and that's the hole. And I'm going to make that hole with my mechanical thing. I can't get in there to cut a hole, so we'll just get one of these. This again is another tool that my good old friend Dapper made specially for me. So that can. Oh no, I think that's a bit too small. I'm going to use next size up. This one. Typical thing for coring, taking the cores out of apples and fruit. Just go in there, put that round. Okay, pop that out. Now, I don't want to damage this nice little top that I've made, so I'm going to turn that over, push that there, and I'm going to make some feet for this thing. I'm not quite sure how to do that yet. I haven't really thought about it, but we just get a bit of the slab here. Okay, I just get a bit of the slab. If I get something like this, okay, I'll just cut that along there, and then there. And there. So what I'm going to do here now is just cut across there. This is designing as you go. Like I said, I haven't thought of this, I haven't done it like this before. There's nothing like a first time. As somebody's going to say to me, yeah, but you've got a tall pot here. Why haven't you got tall feet? Because in this particular case, the pot's a narrow pot. And if I had tall feet, it would topple over. It's going to topple over anyway. Right. So having put those in position, get my little pin, mark them up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Okay. Get it over. Scratch. Ta-da. I'm not, overly precise with, the geometry of where these things are placed, because the whole thing is, it's all primitive, it's all handmade. I like the hand building aspect of it to be very obvious. And if there are little, oh God, this finger's getting really worse, the arthritis. And if these things show, I don't mind. It doesn't mind at all, because it really does confirm that the pots are one-offs. They're all single individual art pieces. Every pot I make is considered in its own right. Well, that's that. I just have to make, you see, this kind of thing is what I'm talking about. You see the division between there and there, there and there, or there and there. Well, that's because that side was longer than that side. Who cares? Who cares? Right, so we'll just put a couple of tie hose in. And use just the downside, and we will put it here. And we will make 24, and we'll put that there. Doesn't show it up very well. Too bad. Right, well, here we are. The pot is finished. I've got the feet on. Got my name on the side there. I will be doing a little bit of work on this pot with a few splashes of some, this is all experimental, a few splashes of some colored slips, okay? But you remember those bits of offcut that I had? Well, I've more or less wedged a lot of it together. I'll do a little bit more wedging. It's very hard. And when you have clay this hard, it's basically unworkable. So what I'm going to do is show you what I'm going to do when I've got an unworkable lump of clay. So once again, we're going to have to move, and we're going to have to go over this side. That's better. It's too hard. It's always best, if you possibly can, to use your scraps that you cut off while making other pots immediately after you've done it, rather than to try to put it away somewhere and rescue it at a later date. Right, that'll do. Now I'm going to put this in the slab roller over here, and I'll make this thinnish. I'll make this thinnish. So I'm going to put a couple of shims under here. That'll reduce the thickness. Here we go. Okay. This is just how to do a dead easy pot. Really quick one. All right. So I'm now going to take this out. I'm going to have to move again. So I'll use this board. But first of all, I've just got to smooth that. I notice that the lighting is beginning to drop now because we've had lunch. Okay. Right, so I can't lift that like that. So how I do it, I'll put that there, stick my hand under and over, pull that back, and away we go, back to the workspace. So I'll now smooth this side as well. Now I'll probably put a drainage hole there and there, so I'll put my signature in there. And this time, as my assistant isn't involved, Dapper Dan won't be featuring on this part. Okay, so now I'll just get my rubber kidney. I'll just smooth this edge a bit more. Right, that'll do. Just loosen this off here. Make sure it's all free. Now what I'm going to do is just hit a nice sharp edge. What was wrong with it? What was... Yeah, just go all the way around in a random sort of way, trying to line up with the center as you go. You don't want to do that or that. And do a quick little check, see everything's satisfactory, which I think it is. Now we turn it over. So I'm going to use another board for that. But first of all, let me see if I can loosen it. Yeah, okay. Oops, sorry. I'll just turn that over. Ta-da! Goes there. Center that. Scrape again. Do this lightly, particularly around the edges, because you don't want to destroy the texture pattern that we've created on the other side. Right, now I'll lift this up, and you've got to be very, very gentle with this, gradually working it around, taking it higher than you need, and going around several times. you do the usual check. Yeah, that's not bad. And now let's check these things. See, I'm getting them over slightly. That'll just retain. But these are lovely for king size accent plants. We'll put a couple of holes in here. So we'll stick one in there. Stick one in there. Stick one in there. That'll do. All right. That's basically all I need to do. And what we're after is something so basically this is the sort of thing we're after, and putting feet on these pots is not easy. So what I've got is I've got some preformed little things which I made in a mold, and I stick these on with a hot gun glue, and that's it. But you see how quick and easy it was to reclaim a little bit of waste. All right, so that concludes this chappie over here. The waste from that. This little accent pot, okay, was heavily influenced by the program I was telling you about earlier. And he was cutting these slices down like that and then bending them over and giving these nice natural, see, taking that off, snappy, so you get the rough with the smooth. The rough with the smooth. And again, my eternal harping on, I just love this business of the way clay presents itself when allowed to be itself. You see, this is contrived. Cut in, and you snap it off, and that is spontaneous. That is the clay speaking for itself. Here we put a little bit of BS markings in, just a couple of fancy ammonites. Got my name down there. And then we've done this cutting in several places. I've also done a little bit of carving here and there, and a little bit of my usual scritching here and there. As far as this was all one solid lump, incidentally, because it's easier to cut these things off when the thing is solid. And then using tools like this was a good one, this one, to carve out the inside, taking all these bits out. I'll get a pile of bits of clay that I'd cut out, okay? So, not wanting to waste anything, you just get all that lot together and and I have this one, okay? So what I've done here, these are all the little bits that were carved out, just squashed together, smoothed on the inside, so that they will hold together. I'm not quite sure how, these are probably going to have my gunmetal thing, but the black stuff here is a kind of volcanic lava, which burns into the clay body when it's fired and gives it a nice juicy black textural effect, which is very popular. So that's what that. But I hate wasting these little bits of offcuts. Now, these two funny little chappies, boy oh boy. You remember, oh no, what happened we had a big pot that we made, and my good friend Dapper, who was helping with it, I hadn't mentioned to him clearly enough that the corners had to be chopped off. So he made the pot in the usual sort of way, all the way round, and he got up to about that height, and I said, "Oh dear, we should have had those corners chopped off." So that's what we did. We chopped them off. So I had 4 pieces, 2 from each corner, of these little L-shaped things with a base, and I just put them together, right? I did my squeezing, all right, and then pushing in and pushing out, and again distorting, getting a little bit of cracks here and there, and just a little bit of fun, rescue fun again. These are dried. These were made exactly the same day as those semi-cascade pots, but these are dried because they were quite thick, and I put them on the radiator to dry. Now, we've got 2 more to have a look at. These coils were just offcuts from some of these larger semi-cascade pots. So again, you just get the coils, mess them around, and just have fun. That one, and here's another one. And in this case, I just put the coils on as they were, smoothed on the inside, and then just using this, did a little bit of fancy work. This one, on the other hand, I put the coils all together, so a whole lot. Oh, actually, these weren't the coils. A big pot I made, when I trimmed the rim off the top to level the pot off, I took the bit off the top, squiggled that all together, that's it there, and then holding it, I tapped it. Gives you another kind of effect. So for the time being, at least, I think that's probably as much as I care to talk about today. I just hope I can get those things, those pots there, dried in time for the show, and get enough to fill the kiln. I still got one big pot to do, and yeah. So let's call it a day, I think.